Good morning, beautiful ladies. I am back home. And we are here for another Respect Dare 40 days of a deeper connection with God and your husband. And today's dare is dare number 25. And it's called Not Always What They Seem. I think that's the name. Yes, Not Always What They Seem. The verse is 1 Peter 3 8 and 9. To sum up, all of you be harmonious, sympathetic, brotherly, kind hearted, and humble in spirit, not returning evil for evil or insult for insult, but giving a blessing instead. For you were called for the very purpose that you might inherit a blessing. And she starts by saying that many of us get too much exercise by jumping into conclusions. And sometimes we need to do a better job in extending grace to other people because we don't know the full details of what is going on in their lives, right? So, this there today, this devotional today, is talking about Bonnie, which is this woman who's working at this office, and she's just typing, on her keyboard while she hears the other two women in the in the office complaining about her coworker, which is her friend apparently, and how she's been late to work and how she's lacking and how they're tired of picking up her slack and answering phone calls for her. And she was late the day before, and they think that the boss was talking to her about it, and now she's late again. And they're going on and on and on about it, right? And so they finally come to her and they say, we're gonna go complain to the boss about this lady and how she's been slacking and how she's been late every day and this and that. Now, Bonnie knew more information about it, and she knew that this woman had been struggling because she had recently separated from her husband, and now she's by herself with all the household work, and she's by herself to take her kids to school. They go to different schools, and then the third one goes to a daycare, so she needs to make 3 stops in the morning before she comes to work. That is a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever had to do that. I've had to drop off my kids in different schools at some point. And it's work, like it's a rush to get out of the house. It's a rush to get them in time. It's a rush, right? It's a rush, and of course you can't just drop them off so early because hello, there's nobody there to care for them, right? So the point is that this woman, the previous day, was in her boss's office, and he wasn't telling her about her being late. On the contrary, he was helping her out by moving her time from 8 to 8:45 so that she wouldn't be late. But these two women didn't know. They were just about the gossip, and they were just about criticizing this woman being late. And they were jumping into conclusions that she continues to be late and that she's lacking for no good reason. I'm not sure why anybody would do that, honestly. I'm really not. But the point is that this is what's happening in this devotional. And this woman, Bonnie, she stops them from going by saying, oh, how's your son? And she knew about the son situation with one of these two ladies. And she said, I'm praying for him, and she just demonstrated a godly character to this women. And then she says, well, this woman, the one that's getting late, I forgot her name. She could use our help because she's going through a situation that's similar to yours at the level of stress. Completely different situation, but same level of stress. And she's having a hard time, and she could really use some grace from us. And she changes the scenario completely, and she says, by the way, our boss gave her an additional 45 minutes in the morning that she can come in, so she's actually not late at all, she's on time, and and the women, and she really spared the women from going into the boss's office looking like, gossipers, and really being embarrassed, for minding business that's not their own, so I think that this is an extreme case, of course, right? I don't know anybody who would do that, but the point is that sometimes we jump into conclusions on things that um, that we don't know all the facts, right? Very rarely do we know all the facts unless the situation is with us, right? And instead of jumping into conclusion, and instead of making assumptions of people, we can ask some questions, and then she moves in to, how about if we did that in our marriage, because I think it's easy for us to see the scenario when it comes to this devotional, for instance, because they are at this workplace, like, who would do that, right? But more often than not, it's in our homes, and it's with the person who we have the most intimacy with, and the person who we have the most time with, which is our husband, that we end up acting this way with, right? And not necessarily gossiping behind their backs, but just jumping into conclusion, without asking questions, without knowing the whole story, right? Maybe they're stressed, and they don't want to bring stress home from work. Maybe they're stressed with finances. Maybe they're stressed with different situations that we may have no idea of, and we are so quick to jump to conclusions sometimes, right? So I really like this, and I really like how she puts the bottom line. Many times when we are frustrated with someone else's behavior, we don't have all the information. How often are we frustrated with our husband's behavior and we don't have all the information? Mature communicators ask questions and extend grace before becoming angry, and as a result, they are a blessing to others. What if we could be a blessing to our husbands by asking questions? It's funny because just as I was waking up this morning, I had a dream, and thinking about it, it's an illustration of this, because in my dream, I was jumping into conclusions with my husband, and I don't remember what exactly was the scenario, but I know that I was jumping into conclusions, and I wasn't nice to him, in my dream. And then there was this work that I needed to do for this other lady, and in my dream it was a British lady, and I had been hired to record some videos for her, and for whatever reason I recorded all the videos in Portuguese, and then, like, when she's trying to watch the videos, she obviously doesn't understand. And in my dream, and even as I woke up, I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Like, why did I record it in the wrong language? But I go in my dream, I go talk to this lady, and I ask her, will you please give me another chance, and will you please allow me to do over, in the correct language, and and she said yes. So I hugged her, and I went on to do what I needed to do. And as I woke up, I thought to myself, like, wow, this woman in my dream extended so much grace to me. Like, she had paid me already for the work that she had hired me to do, and I did it all in the wrong language. Like, what? Only happens in dreams, right? But the point is that she extended so much grace towards me in my dream that, like, just a minute before in my dream, I had not extended towards my husband, So when I woke up, I'm like, wow, I think I really need to extend more grace towards my husband, because I wasn't nice to him. Like the way that I spoke to him was not nice. I didn't extend grace to him. And this woman is now just extending all this grace to me, And then I come do the devotional and this is it. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting. And as I was answering the questions for the dare today, that's what came to mind, the dream that I had just had. So, anyways, I will leave you with that today. And I invite you, to find ways to extend that grace to your husband, to find ways to ask questions nicely so that you can gather all the information before you jump into conclusions. And we can practice that with everybody in our lives. Amen. All right. So I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.